Hello, this is Dr.Devasena Desai. I'm in conversation with Mrudula Kuvalekar. Hi, Mrudula.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I'd like to welcome you so we can have a conversation on today's topic is introversion and giftedness. And before we begin, I'd just like to share that um, when we look at introversion as such, just a normal people itself, people find it difficult because humans are, I mean, we are very social people. We like to interact. And especially when you are gifted and you're introverted, you have many things running in your mind all the time. You want to express, but you hesitate, you inhibit yourself. So there are a lot of challenges, basically. Yeah. So I was wanting to understand from you what your journey has been as a child. Can you just share a few things with us?
So I was always introverted, even as a child. I think in school I had quite a bit of trouble making friends. I think because I did not speak out that much, I preferred just being silent and observing. I could not really talk to people as well as I think maybe teachers or my peers expected me to, and I think that caused a lot of social issues in terms of
What
interacting with.
kind of social issues?
I would say difficulty in making friends was the most important one. I
Oh, God.
think I think it did not actually stop me from speaking in class in terms of answers, but I could not uh, really interact with the teachers on anything else besides maybe just answering in class. I think that was also something I could not really like connect with them on that in that sense. I think those two things were quite yeah, I think were the biggest obstacles in terms
For
of
you. Okay.
yeah.
So, what really runs in your mind? Because I'm a very social person. I love talking to people, and it comes very naturally to me to be able to talk and interact and be curious about others. I know that as gifted, you have the curiosity and you do have extensive vocabulary. But then, what really happens when you have to really share it? How do you really go about sharing it with others then, if you are not able to, you know, verbalize your thoughts and expressions?
I think what I have realized now is that I can just take my time with it. I don't have to like the minute I think it, I don't have to like start talking about it. I can take a minute maybe just to like form the sentence in my head and perhaps get it to a point where I feel like it'll be understandable and then say it. I think that understanding has really helped me interact with those around me and
Wow.
get my
That's
yeah.
that's a very well put one, because I think even we should learn that, because many a times we just talk immediately without even thinking. So that's one good strategy for gifted. Uh, when you mentioned not being able to make friends easily, can you share a little bit about that?
I think especially being a gifted child and being an introvert, I think both those things were kind of the hindrance in connecting with my peers, because I think a lot of them I just did not feel like I related to them. I just i just felt this gap between what the way they thought and the way I thought, and I thought that if I maybe spoke out, I would be judged, or i'm just I'm just not good enough. I think that caused a lot of self-esteem issues in that sense, yeah,
Okay.
for me.
That must have been very difficult for you, actually.
It was difficult to get over. I think you really helped me with that.
Yeah, because I know that as gifted individually, people have lots of ideas, and you want to share it with your peers, right? But when you go into your class and you see that others don't understand the ideas that you're talking about, that really hits you really very hard. Did you have any friend who could be relate to you and understand you? What did they do that you were able to connect with them?
I think I did have good friends, but I wouldn't say a lot of them were like gifted. So I couldn't maybe share my ideas, but I could share my feelings. And I think that
Okay.
helped a lot. I
Okay.
think now I do have a lot of like minded peers, not necessarily like minded, but like I would say at the same level that I want to be thinking at. So I think now I have a good mix of friends who are helping me emotionally and helping me really shape the way I think and expand my thought process. I think, yeah, I think in my childhood it was hard to like talk about what I'm thinking and what my exact thoughts are, but now I do have some good friends who I can share with.
How is it relating with family? Because I remember having spoken to your mom, and her main concern was you don't have many friends and not many people to talk to. So, how do you really go about interacting with family members?
Um, I think I have accepted that my mom and dad are just going to be who they are, and I have really formed my own ways of like, so many a times I compartmentalize in my brain like, okay, this is my family and I have to interact with them in a certain way and I have to interact with my friends in a certain way. So I think that compartmentalization has really helped me, maybe deal is the wrong word, but yeah, like deal with my family. And because the way we think, I think, is quite different in terms of my mom and dad and me. So I think,
Okay.
yeah, compartmentalizing has helped a lot.
Okay. If not people, then what other mediums you choose to express yourself? Because I remember you had a lot of YouTube videos on introversion, and you had made a lot of um, poetry, and you reached out in different other mediums. So can you just tell us about that?
I still write a lot of poetry. I still find
Okay.
that poetry is the best way I can express myself. I am
Okay.
also now getting more into illustrations. I'm also using that to express what I think. And I think I've also learned to open up a bit more to my friends, at least like people I'm close to, and really let them know what I'm going through. Otherwise, yeah, I think I've realized with a lot of effort that it's much easier when you're talking to somebody you know. But I am very careful about who I talk to. I think I have very chosen set of friends that I open up to and nobody else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I recall our conversation some years ago where we made it. If you travel from Mumbai to Pune and you're in a cab with your friends, that you have to have certain conversations because you have traveled 3 hours without having to say a single word. And it it was, you shared with me how difficult it was for you to uh, talk these mundane things, basically, picture kya
Yeah.
chal raha hai, kahan pe, what is the latest trend in fashion or whatever that others talk about, you know. So when people talk about such mundane stuff, what is really happening and what are you thinking and what are you, saying to yourself?
Honestly, when people are talking mundane things, I'm just bored because in my head it just doesn't classify as important.
Okay.
I think it's just so much more fun to talk about something more interesting, like maybe something that's going on in the world, like maybe some deep moral issue, like what even I don't know. This sounds very cliche, but what is life all about? I think that is so much more interesting than like what fashion trends are going on. I mean, that's just going to keep changing and going to keep happening. But
But I
yeah,
don't think so. Your peers would agree with that because I'm sure they would want to know what's the latest trend that's happening and who's going out with whom and about travels and stuff like that, right? So
right.
world issue seems like a very big thing.
It does, but I think I don't know. In my head, it's just that's what matters the most. I think trends keep changing; they keep coming and going, and I just don't relate to them at that level. I just don't find them to be that interesting, maybe. And that may be different for other gifted children, maybe because maybe somebody who's interested in fashion might be interested in the trends that are going on.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But does that make you snobbish? Do people then misunderstand you? Can you talk about how people misunderstand you then? Then you look like a person who would not relate with us. So it distances us from you. So can you share something?
Yeah, I think people have mistaken that before. I think in school also there were a few girls that they felt that I considered myself very superior because I did not discuss these things with them. And even in college the same case, like they felt like I didn't really speak to them about all these current topics as such. But I think I have learned to accept that there are going to be few people who just don't match with you or just don't gel with you. And it's okay, it's fine that people don't like you sometimes. I think that has also been quite a journey that way to
You,
accept.
you, you did mention that you're very sensitive. So now, and how old are you now?
I am 23 now.
Okay. So now you're more wiser and you have put all those wisdom together to say that how you have your own strategy to deal with people. But otherwise, how it has been for you.
In terms of dealing with people,
Yeah.
uh, I think it was definitely hard in my childhood because I had no way of. I think until I think I spoke to you and got some and really went through the whole process of therapy, I think I was quite unsure of myself. I did not think that what I thought mattered, and that I could that it was okay for me to have my own ways of dealing. I think going through therapy with you, I think that really helped accept that accept myself and accept the fact that I have different ways of dealing. And now that I've accepted that, I think it's just easier for me to accept, not just accept, but also work on those ways of handling people and the way they think. Yeah.
So, what aspirations you have? Like you started even working a little bit. So, when you work in an organization, there are people who are extremely aggressive, assertive in organizations. When you're in a team, so when you're with such kind of people, and you being a person who talks with very specifically, very focused and limited, how are you able to conduct yourself and share your views? Because you want to be an illustrator, you're learning to be, you've been through a design school, and everything is about creativity and expression, and you just not by art form, but also you need to share and talk about your art form. So
Yeah.
how did you go about doing it when you are in a workspace?
So where I worked was it's actually a very good workplace. I think the people were quite accepting of my introverted nature.
Oh,
So
good.
I think that was really helpful. Um, there were, of course, I think one of my colleagues, Swati, I think she was really helpful because she really took me through and she was willing to like sort of adopt me, take me under her wing, and help me talk to the people around me. So I think having somebody who worked as your mentor sort of really helped me gauge the people around me and learn learn how to like handle every single person individually and then work it that way. Yeah,
So you almost had a spokesperson technically.
yeah, I did.
So in childhood, it was your parents who were your spokespeople, and then later you had. But then now you are also learning how to talk yourself and go about doing it. Introversion and sensitivity is a very common thing that happens. People say because they know you will not reply back immediately or say something, and giftedness and being sensitive is a very big area. So how do you deal with sensitive issues and sensitive if people are insensitive and they've said certain things?
Um, I think that has always been something. I think even now, it's hard for me when people are insensitive. I think being kind is something that's really close to my heart. I've even started a whole Instagram page for this. Um, yeah, I think I just remind myself that everybody's definition of what good is different, and what kindness means to one person is not what kindness means to somebody else. And perhaps that person might have had their own issues that they're going through in that day or in their life. So I just have to keep reminding myself that as long as I am firm on my values and what I believe in, I think what others do is just a reflection of themselves and not of who I am, and doesn't reflect on me badly but on them. I think that thought process has helped a lot.
Yeah. So has there been times when you really were at a breakdown, because some things have hurt you so badly, and how long does it last, and how do you go about it? Because what I've heard is that it can be even weeks and months before people can, especially people who are extremely talented and intelligent, go through this.
Yeah, I think in school I was bullied a lot. I think that affected the way I was a lot. I think it affected my self-esteem quite a bit, and it took me a good, I think, 2 years to even like really start being able to accept myself and start being able to accept that this is who I am and this is what I went through, and that's okay. And I think after my second year is when I really started uh, being who I was, unashamed of who I was. Yeah, it took me about 2 years.
My God, that's quite a lot, right?
That is a
A,
long
a lot
time.
of thought process and back and forth talking to yourself and self-talk to
Yeah,
get you through and all
yeah.
that stuff.
But
Right.
I am glad that I went through it because I think it has made me a much wiser and a much stronger person. I have my,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I'm glad I went through it. I am glad I went through it at the end of the day.
And just share with us what are your future plans and how are you planning for yourself?
So right now I'm in the process of doing my masters, and I'll be shifting to London next week, I think, for the same thing. I'll be doing a masters in illustration, so I'm hoping to break into the industry really soon once I'm there. And beyond that, I'm also in the process of setting up a design collective of my own with a bunch of my friends. So I think all of it together is hopefully going to take me somewhere great.
Oh, wow, that's really good. Wonderful talking with you, Mrudula, and thank you so much for taking time. I know you have to catch a flight just another 3 or 4 days later,
No
and
worries.
it's always been a pleasure watching and learning so much from you, and the courage that you have shown in wanting to break out from the norm that has been there and go ahead. So thank you so much, and all the
Likewise.
very, very best. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
Nice talking to you.
Bye.